You are now listening to
Chakras and Shotguns. Welcome to Chakras and Shotguns, the podcast that guides you on your journey of spiritual development and personal preparedness. I'm Jen, a lawyer again, tarot card reader, and lover of all things wellness.
And I'm Mick, a marketer, energy healer, and prepper. So Jen and I have done a lot of individual sessions with folks doing healing work. And one of the things that we've recently seen from a lot of our clients is that they have this phenomenon where they're consistently being woken up like multiple days in a row, really early hours of the morning, think like between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. And there's a lot of spiritual significance to this time period. And we've kind of counseled people through this. But we wanted to take some time today and focus the episode really answering the question, why do I continue to be woken up in the middle of the night?
In the early hours. But before we get into that, we want to remind you to check out our Patreon, please. We cannot do this show without your support. And it comes with all kinds of goodies like merch discounts, exclusive content, exclusive access to us, free readings, et cetera, and so forth. Definitely check it out. It's in the show notes.
All right. Well, let's begin as we always do with a breathwork meditation to put us into a mindful place.
So with the topic of sleep and getting woken up, et cetera, and with the episode that we did, episode 115 on the power of breath, I thought that this would be a good one to just really try and dive more into our parasympathetic system.
Okay.
To rest and digest. I got them right?
Yeah.
Okay. And let's get into it. So this one, I just really want us to like take a moment, take a beat to allow our body to fully relax and fully rest, which can be kind of difficult during our day, depending on like what we have going on, what we're thinking about, what we haven't let go of from the day, weeks, months, years before,
Absolutely.
et cetera. So, all right. For this one, I'm going to ask that if you can lie down. I know I always say you can always lie down, but this one is like, if you can lie down, you can always sit up, but it will be so much more fun lying down. Okay. So go ahead and flicker your eyes closed. Place one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart, and start to deepen your breaths, becoming more aware of your body. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And then exhale that breath back out through your mouth. Beautiful. Inhale through your nose. Open your mouth. Exhale, let something go. Let's do one more together. Inhale through your nose. And this time, seal your lips closed and exhale back out through your nose. Allow yourself to breathe normally. Noticing your hand rise on your inhales and come back down on your exhales. Bring your awareness to your feet. Bring your awareness up to your ankles. Maybe roll your ankles in different circle motions if that feels good to you. Find stillness again and bring your awareness up to your shins, your knees. And bring your awareness to your thighs. And we're just seeing and noticing information that our body's telling us, what's achy, what's tight, what's tired. Bring your awareness to your hips. Maybe bend your knees a little bit and windshield wiper your legs from side to side. Bring your awareness to your pelvis, your belly, your ribs, your heart and your chest. Notice if there's any tightness there. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale, let something go out of your chest. Bring your awareness to your neck. Maybe tilting your head, your right ear over to your right shoulder gently. And then your left ear to the other. Maybe shake your head, yes and no. Being gentle with ourselves. Bring your awareness to your low back. Travel all the way up your spine to your upper back and your shoulder blades. Notice if there's any tension in your shoulders, the back of your neck, your ears, your face, all the way to the crown of your head. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Open mouth, exhale, let something go. Start to wiggle your fingers, your toes. Stretch your arms overhead, stretch your toes, point your toes long, and get a full body stretch, maybe arching your back. You can roll over to your favorite side, hug your knees to your chest. And then when you're ready, you can come back into the room. You can stay lying down and listen. That's totally fine. If you're ready to flicker your eyes open, go ahead. Welcome back. Let's get into the rest of the show.
That was good. That was good.
Thank you.
You was all sensual with her. You was like, you can stay and lie down and listen if you like. I was like, okay, I'm trying to be the little sultry voice.
That is my regular voice.
I'm just messing with you. It was good.
Is it my regular voice? I don't know. All that Texas twang came out.
I love it.
You can stay lying down.
I love it, though. I love it. All right, so let's get into the main topic. You good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just caught a tear.
Okay.
I want to take a nap.
Did you get waking up last night? Are you good?
I did not.
Okay.
You know why? Because I follow the tips and tricks that we're going to talk about today.
All right, so let's get into it. What is causing you to wake up at odd hours of the night?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about lucid dreaming and sleep cycles, but we didn't really get into hormones.
Yeah.
We didn't do a real deep dive as to like the hormones that are involved in sleep. We've kind of talked about them here and there, but not like, let's gather all of this together and put it in one episode. So understanding those hormones, I think will really help this topic.
Yeah. And, we only got so much time, so we can't get into every single hormone that's happening when you're sleeping, because it's more than just a few. There's quite a bit that's going on. But for simplicity's sake, we'll talk about kind of three that are really important. So the first one is melatonin. And melatonin is produced in the pineal gland, the third eye. and it is basically produced in response to darkness. So sun goes down, your body's like, oh, it's time to start going to sleep. Let's start producing some melatonin. And that hormone basically helps you to feel sleepy and ready for bed. The melatonin levels are the highest in your body at night, as I mentioned, and lowest during the day.
Yeah, melatonin. I feel like the Black community is very familiar with melatonin. The gummies. Let's talk about the gummies. Let's get into it. Also, sleep stickers. They're doing transdermal patches now.
Yeah.
And how do I know about this? A recent news story where a baby came home and was like, I get a special sticker right before nap time. The teachers were putting melatonin sleep stickers on these babies to keep them asleep. And while I understand
as parents
that sometimes you just need a little bit of quiet.
Yeah.
No judgment. We just are not advocates of medicating our children into rest.
Yeah, I think my perspective on it is not wanting them to be dependent on it. Like I know adults who like still need to take melatonin to get ready for bed. Like you're almost like conditioning your body to not produce as much melatonin because you're giving it the melatonin, right? Like so you can't fall asleep as naturally as you would if you were on that supplement.
I'm really not trying to be corny, but it's really like telling your body that you are not enough. And it's like what you're doing is not good enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just kind of came to mind.
No, you're right.
It's like you're not doing what you can naturally do, so I need to help you. And I have been like on this wellness journey. I feel like a spiritual journey. Then you start to kind of evaluate what you're easing, how you're living, can you be healthier, all of these things. And it's very interesting that America and maybe the UK has a very strong supplement culture. Like we supplement everything. And then there's always like a study of like, you don't need to take calcium. You can get your calcium through food and not just milk. That's from the milk lobby. But you can get your calcium from spinach, from leafy greens, and like other countries that have a better understanding and better relationship with like fruits and vegetables, they tend to not reach for supplements. And then like, never mind that our supplements a lot of them are unregulated and you don't know what's in them and whatever. I will put in the show notes this guy who on TikTok who's amazing about going through supplements and what to look for. But I think we've gotten conditioned in capitalism into telling our bodies that like they can't produce everything that we need and that they're deficient in some ways. And I don't know. It just makes you wonder like how that messaging works. Never mind that our food is deficient. Our food can be deficient in some ways because we don't have the same type of regulations and the same approach to food as other countries. And everything isn't organic. And there's a bunch of shit and to increase profits and whatever. That's neither here nor there. But I done went on a whole anti-capitalism route.
Can we get back to the sleeping and the hormones?
Yes. But so I will say this. If you need something medical, take it. Definitely talk to your doctor and take it. I'm not saying don't take anything, but I'm saying we're reaching for certain things and maybe to spend a little bit more time figuring out where can I get this naturally. Even though I take a multivitamin and a probiotic every day, but I don't take melatonin.
Back to the hormones. So we got melatonin. I mentioned that melatonin peaks at night, right? And so it peaks about 7 hours after sunset. So basically that's around like 1 a.m., depending on like when the sun happened to set, if it's daylight saving time, if it's not, whatever, all that. The next hormone I mentioned is HGH. And HGH is important because that is the hormone that basically helps your body to recover, right? So think about like you're working out, you're breaking down muscle fibers as you lift weights, and then the idea that you rebuild them stronger, right? And so you need that HGH as you're sleeping to rebuild that muscle tissue. And so that process of regenerating the muscle tissue happens when you're in your non-REM sleep. So if you like remember back to our lucid dreaming episode, the dreaming happens when you're in REM, which is the rapid eye movement phase, and you cycle between REM and non-REM throughout the night. And so when you're in that non-REM, that's when you're getting that HGH and the muscle tissues happening. So really important process that's happening while you sleep.
I did not know. Look, Black girls in tech, Black girls in STEM. That was a little after my time, but I did not know that we create HGH.
You thought that it came from?
Well, all the muscle heads, they shoot up HGH.
So you didn't know that it was a naturally occurring hormone?
No.
Oh, that's how you grow as like a child.
Capitalism. Capitalism will tell you that you will always be childlike unless you shoot up HGH.
Well, I'm not trying to make you like sound slow or nothing, but it's called human growth hormone. Like, so it comes from humans.
I understand that. I think there's artificially created HGH, however, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just meant to mimic what's naturally produced.
Yes, I understand that. But I was thinking of it as like, this is going to make a human grow.
Okay.
And I wasn't saying that it was.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Okay. I'm following you.
Like dog food is not.
It's not. Okay, I feel you.
It's not. You know what I mean?
It's a growth hormone that we created for humans as opposed to like.
Exactly.
Okay.
No. You know, somebody go to a little medical magnet, you know.
I wasn't trying to play you. I really wasn't. I was just
Doogie Howser over here. It's House MD over here. I led with science was not encouraged.
I really was not trying to play you.
The 90s.
The last hormone that will mistreat.
Man, get one stethoscope all of a sudden.
Oh, man, y'all. Y'all see what I live with? All right.
Dr. Ben Carson over here. Healing hands.
Gifted hands. Get it right. Because I do have gifted hands now.
Okay, we're not talking about that. That's private.
I was talking about the energy healing, but okay.
Oh.
I see where your mind is.
Okay.
The last hormone that we'll mention for this episode is cortisol. So cortisol is the hormone that controls wakefulness. It helps you. It's basically the opposite. It's the yang to the yin of melatonin, right? Like it's gonna wake you up.
You hit that yang hard. That was straight Houston.
Can we stay focused?
Yes.
So cortisol, the low point of cortisol typically happens around midnight, right? And then it slowly starts to build as you get closer to basically the sun rising, right? It peaks around 9 a.m., right? So that's getting you out of your sleep. Again, it's that yang to the yin of melatonin. When cortisol is low during the middle of the night, it's actually an opportunity for our immune system to be more active. And so we see a lot more production of white blood cells. See, this is where that medical knowledge comes into play too. He's hating on it. The white blood cells are produced at a higher rate during that time period, which allows us to fight off infection. So doctor tells you, hey, you need to drink some orange juice and get plenty of rest. Like the rest is what's going to help produce that infection fighting cell. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That was a great breakdown of cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
Cortisol is trending, very much so. I don't know if you know this.
Okay,
I don't know if your algorithm is...
Nah, it's not. Tell me.
The girls are obsessed with not having cortisol face.
What is cortisol face?
That like if you're producing too much cortisol, that it like makes you puffy.
Well, the one thing I forgot to mention about cortisol is it's the hormone that spikes when you're in fight or flight, right? So it's what's you probably do look a little puffy and stressed out when you have too much cortisol. So that makes sense. Yeah.
I was looking real puffy around 2017. I wasn't even, was I that? Well, it might have been leftover from like the firm. I think I was like real puffy from there. Yeah. And then as I've,
gotten more distance from them.
Slimmed it on out. But there's that. Also, let's put on our full 10 hats.
Okay.
If my cortisol peaks at 9 a.m., why am I supposed to be at my desk at 9 a.m.? I haven't fully woken up yet. The day should start at 10 at the earliest. Let's be honest. Let's think about that. But they don't want you to know that. And they want you to stay in a weakened state so they can sell you more shit.
Okay. I don't know if that's quite right, but all right. Let's put it all together for everybody. Can we do that? The hormones.
Okay. In summary.
Okay.
It gets dark. Melatonin starts to kick in. Okay. We get sleepy. Go to bed. Go to bed. And then we're alternating between REM and non-REM. We're dreaming. We're not dreaming.
Yeah.
we're recovering.
Yeah.
From whatever activity or inactivity we've done. And then, so hopefully we're repairing tissue.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, is that why you sleep off alcohol? You got to sleep it off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sure
it is a toxin.
I'm sure there's some other hormones at play, like getting the stuff out of your liver, which we didn't go into, but yes.
Yeah. Because it is a toxin.
Mm-hmm.
Why everything's supposed to be bad make me feel so good. Okay. But anywho, and then when we're dreaming, we already talked about that.
Yeah.
Cortisol starts to slowly build to wake us up fully until about 9 a.m., which is the time that we should wake up, which then means the day shouldn't start until 10. Which means if the day starts at 10 and then melatonin starts to pick up when it starts to turn into night, the day should really only be from like 10 to 4. Okay, so we're in the REM, we're in the not REM. Like that's, it's interesting because it's like all these different little concoctions are going on within our body to like regulate this period that we're in. Because I think people can kind of think of sleep as like an off button.
Yeah.
And you just like shut down. But there's such a delicate like balance of things that are going on when we're dreaming and we're not dreaming. Like, for sure. They're all like this interplay is very interesting.
Yeah. So I think getting back to the topic of like why you're maybe waking up, right? Let's say you're having some sort of like intense dream, like in the middle of your night. And we said before, it's in the REM phase of sleep, right? And so that could trigger your body's stress response, which is the cortisol, right? That we say is not supposed to really peak until 9 a.m., right? But if you're getting this spike of cortisol in the middle of the night, that wakes you up, and that could be, keeping you up, right? Because you got that cortisol now in your blood, and you're like, can't go back to sleep.
Yeah, that's definitely happened to me before. So that makes sense from a physical standpoint.
Yeah,
we covered that in depth with a little bit of anti-capitalist rant from me getting on task. But we know our physical body doesn't exist in a vacuum. We talk about this all the time, that our physical body is manifesting things that are going on emotionally or spiritually. It's because it's the most tangible and like what we've been conditioned to pay attention to. We don't think about the other layers. Like there is warning signs that are bubbling up before we get to the I can't sleep. Why am I here? So let's talk about the spiritual perspective. We're not really going to get into the emotional. Like, if you got some emotional shit you need to work through, some trauma, that probably is going to keep you from sleeping.
Absolutely.
We really want to talk about the spiritual perspective of things.
Yeah. I think this is probably a good time to talk about this term that shows up in popular culture. We just saw it talked about on Agatha All Along when we were watching that. So there's this idea of or concept of the witching hour, right? And so it's typically associated with the early morning hours, typically between like 3 and 4 a.m. is considered the witching hour. It kind of depends on who you're talking to. Some people say it's like 12 to 1. Kind of just depends on who you're talking to. But the exact origins of that term, right? It's kind of unclear. It's like the Middle Ages is kind of when it started. There's this idea that this time period was when witches were most active, probably during the Salem, era witch hunt trial type time frame, and they was really getting into that. According to Wikipedia, the first usage of the term that was like kind of printed or recorded down was in this poem called "Night and Ode" by a Reverend Matthew West, and that was written in 1775. So you can kind of get a feel for what was going on back then. What's that? Why
I started laughing?
Yeah.
I saw his last name was West, and then I was thinking about the topic, and I was like, "Wake up, Mr. West!" Did you think about that?
No, but you on one today. I like that reference though.
That's a good reference.
That is a good. I said I like the reference.
Megan been talking bad about me. I'm off task, but I'm firing on all cylinders right now.
Okay. Cortisol spiking over here.
My cortisol going crazy. So the idea of the witching hour is prevalent throughout folklore. We also hear colloquially that this is when the veil is thin during this time, which allows for increased paranormal activity. And I remember when we first heard the concept of witching hour, like with respect to like our own like spiritual journey and like our burgeoning spiritual practices, like as we were like new in this space. And I remember us being like, okay, so time zones.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Why
Yeah.
are they?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, so I actually looked into this.
Okay.
All right. So if you think about this, like when it's daytime, the Earth is pointing towards the sun, right? And there are certain particles, for lack of a better word, that are coming from the sun, right? Like different UV types of light that is coming from the sun, right? And when the Earth moves and it's dark, you're on the dark side of the Earth, you're not getting the same like levels of those particles. But as the Earth moves, right, when you're at 3 a.m. on right here, there's a certain amount of particles that are coming here. And then as the Earth continues to move like that, the different part of the planet is now in that same spot, right? So your 3 a.m. is going to feel like from a solar particle perspective the same way it feels in a different part of the world when they're at their 3 a.m., right? So if you think about it just from like a physics standpoint, there are things that are happening at that point at 3 a.m. that are also happening when someone who's in a different part of the world hits their 3 a.m., right? There's a similarity there is my point.
I want you to say solar particle perspective again.
Okay. Later.
So yes. Back to the central question, Nicholas.
Yes. So what is waking you up in the middle of the night? I think there probably isn't a universal answer. We'll try to simplify it, but I mean, as Jen said, we're not getting to like the emotional causes of things. If there's some like deep trauma, things you need to like go work out with a professional, definitely go and do that.
Please.
There could be other things underlying that, right? Like maybe you're taking some prescription drugs that have side effects that result in you waking up in the middle of the night. They're disrupting your hormones. Or you could have something chronic medically, like sleep apnea, that's causing you to wake up. You're not getting enough oxygen and therefore waking up, right? So we're kind of ruling out those things and kind of simplifying it to a few different things.
Yeah.
So the first one is kind of like just stress, right? Like we hear about stress a lot from doctors and medical, research, right? About the dangers of stress and how it affects the body. But one way is that it could be, causing you psychologically to have, this carryover into your subconscious, where like your stress is infiltrating into your subconscious and into your dreams, and thus causing you to wake up when you have that spike in stress hormone.
Yeah. And then I love taking fight or flight and stress, taking it back to its intended purpose of like to keep us from being eaten by a lion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if you have told your body through the stress of like emails and life and bills and politics and war, et cetera, that I'm in fight or flight mode, your body is like, a lion could come at any time. Wake up. Like, you cannot fall asleep right now. You cannot be slipping on your pimping. Like, get up. And so, you're just like, oh my gosh, like, Susie sent that stupid fucking email and now I can't sleep. And it's like, your body is like, no, we're going to die.
Yeah.
This is no time for rest. So, putting in that perspective, it's like, well, how can I get myself out of that state? Because that's crazy. If like I am living fairly comfortably and safe and I'm physically okay, I can't be reinforcing those messages to my body that I'm not.
Absolutely. So the second one I'll talk about is spiritual in nature, right? So there could be some type of a spiritual presence that could be, it could be your ancestors trying to reach out to you, give you a message. It could be a spirit guide that's like, again, trying to tell you something, give you some type of warning. It could be something malevolent that is in your space that is trying to, disrupt you in your sleep, right? And so, or it could just be something innocent, like just a spirit that happens to be living in the home, like the ghost stories or whatever, right? That where they're in a space and they're just being mischievous. And so, that could be causing, again, your cortisol levels to spike and for you to wake up in the middle of the night. The third one I'll mention, and this isn't kind of outside of the kind of the physiological, I guess, or the stress and the spiritual. This is more about caffeine. And so we didn't really talk about the hormone that is associated with caffeine. So there's another hormone that happens when you're sleeping called adenosine. Okay, I actually never heard of this until I did some of the research. But caffeine actually blocks the receptors for that, and that hormone actually helps to regulate your sleep. And so, in this culture that we're in, we are consuming a lot of caffeine. Starbucks $1 billion business. You know what I mean? You know how much?
Starbucks. What's those other drinks? Celsius.
Mm.
Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
gosh. Celsius got a hold
Yeah.
on, not me,
Yeah.
but it's got a hold on a lot of
On
people.
a lot of folks. But what I found interesting is that caffeine has a quarter life, not a half life, a quarter life of 12 hours. So if you know anything about like chemical half-lives, chemical quarter lives, basically, just to give you an example, let's say the average cup of coffee is between like 90 and 100 milligrams of caffeine, right? So let's say your cup of coffee has 100 milligrams in it that you had at noon, okay? 12 hours later, you're still going to have 25 milligrams of caffeine in your system. That's disrupting that hormone that helps regulate your sleep. So maybe chill out on the caffeine that could be a cause. So I want to throw that on the list because I know a lot of people drink a lot of coffee and we probably aren't thinking about how that's disrupting our sleep.
Okay. I'm going to ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
I thought half-life was
the time it takes for half of it to go away, basically.
Okay, right.
So quarter is
the time it takes for a quarter of it to go away.
3/4 of it to go away, basically.
Oh, it's 3/4. Okay,
Yeah.
But they call it quarter life.
Because it's a quarter of the original amount.
Okay, I'm thinking of how much is remaining.
Yeah.
Thank you. See, this is why. Get you a boo who went to a medical magnet. Because I was like, I want to make sure we got this right. Because the math is not mathing. Okay, yes.
Got it.
I cut out caffeine almost 2 years ago.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Damn.
It was like around the holidays.
Oh, wow.
And I cut out caffeine. Now, I'm still a decaf girly.
Yeah, but decaf only has like...
I love a decaf latte.
It's like, what, 10 milligrams or something? It's super...
Yeah, it's very low.
Yeah,
but then I noticed like cutting out caffeine, if I have a soda, which is a lot less caffeine than coffee.
Yeah.
If I have a soda in the evening,
it's a wrap.
Yeah. I'm up and I'm stuck.
Absolutely.
So yes, make sure you're paying attention. I used to say like I could have coffee at any time of day and still go to sleep. Like I'm still going to sleep. But I think now I've just gotten a lot more cognizant of like the quality of my sleep.
I mean, it's like if you're still able to go to sleep with coffee, imagine how good of sleep you would have if you didn't have the coffee, didn't have the caffeine blocking that receptor for that hormone. So, yeah.
Yeah. And paying attention to how you wake up from sleep. Because if I'm trying to take a quick nap, I got to get somewhere and I set an alarm, I will wake up like I've been like jolted and like, that's not good.
Yeah.
I'm just like making sure we're really...
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate of sleep. I think it's overlooked.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about this product in our lucid dreaming episode, but we have a relationship with Hatch. And so you can definitely get a discount on a Hatch alarm clock, which allows you to wake up a lot gentler. So we'll put that into the show notes in case anyone's interested in learning more about that product and checking it out.
Yeah. I stopped using the iPhone alarms, which are traumatic, and have seen a big difference in like how I go about my day.
For sure.
All right. So what should you do if you feel like spiritually there's something going wrong? Not going wrong, but going on rather, and that it's affecting your sleep. So definitely meditate through it, like asking questions, and when I say meditate through it or asking questions, you have to kind of figure out the best way for you to receive the answers and to like strip your ego out of it. So maybe asking for specific signs like, hey, I'm not sleeping well. If it's emotional, show me 2 feathers. If it's spiritual, show me a red robin. Something random, like something that you wouldn't expect. Like I've even heard people saying like, I want to hear a reference to chicken nuggets. In the next 24 hours. And somebody will be like, hey, you want to go to McDonald's and get some chicken nuggets? They're like, where would that come from?
Yeah, I think that's good advice for during the day. But I think when you're woken up to meditate through it actually is a good suggestion. Like meaning like take that opportunity where you're in that space where your brain is kind of in between sleeping and awaking. You're in what's called theta wave brain states. And so that's basically a state of deep relaxation. And when you're in that state, you actually can more easily drop into meditation and receive kind of that intuitive guidance. And so a lot of folks, and this is what I tell people when they have sessions with me and they're experiencing this, is to see what comes through in meditation in that moment, like in the middle of the night, see what messages come forward, because that could be you opening yourself up to receive what you need to hear, and it could ultimately help you fall asleep. Like once you receive the message, you may not get woken up anymore. So
very fair. Definitely journal with that as well, especially if it's a dream that woke you up or whatever comes out of that meditation. You want to write it down. Sometimes you might not remember it unless you wrote it down. And you're like, I kind of woke up, and you're like, oh snap, there's a whole note. Of stuff for me to do. I
have a notebook and a pen right by my bed. And I'll reach for it in the middle of the night and just kind of scribble. And sometimes I'll be able to legibly read what's written down. Sometimes not, but
scribble scrabble.
Exactly.
Also, clearing your space, and we're not talking about the clothes that are like not clean but not dirty that have accumulated on the floor by your bed. I'm not speaking from personal experience at all, and that's not where this top is going to go once we're done recording. But clearing your space with like smudging tools like Palo Santo, sage, burning some incense. Sage, open a window if you can. Palo Santo, close the window. You can burn some incense, set an intention for your space. Included in that, if you have any mirrors in your room.
I like that. Good suggestion.
If you can take them out, especially if they're facing the bed, if you can take them out, that would be great. If you can't, feng shui, decor, and all that, get some type of black crystal to place at the base of that mirror. So we have like tourmaline,
onyx,
hematite.
Yeah.
You can use that and just sit it at the base of your mirror. I had like a little vanity mirror that was pointing towards our bed, and we were both being like, what is going on? And so, but you can close it. So we're Mick is actually a lot more vigilant about closing it. Yes. And I try to be, but he's like, not that mirror.
Yeah. And I'll just add this. We talked about this in a previous episode, but like we had this orchid that we brought into the house that had some type of entity on it that was waking the whole house up in the middle of the night. And so I like took it and put it on the curb. Someone came and got it. I hope they doing all right. But yeah.
That orchid was out here talking about 7 days.
I know what you're talking about.
Said, get it out. Do you know you have 30 minutes? 30. Get out. Put it on the curb. That's a whole horror movie. Somebody call Jordan Peele.
So be careful with the things you bring into your house. Potentially, you may have added something to your environment that needs to be removed, and that could be keeping you up. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah.
Of course. Or cleanse thoroughly, or like set an intention, prayer, meditation, all of that. Like use all of the tools that you have. Spiritual bouncer. Working with a spirit guide before you fall asleep and asking them to basically like limit spiritual energies that want to have access to you. So we were still in Dallas, and I feel like we both were having issues. We were not sleeping well. We reached out to Melanie Esperon, one of our favorite mediums, and she was like, basically on this spiritual journey, everybody was like so excited that we were on this journey that they wanted to come and hang out.
Spiritually.
Yes, they wanted to come. They wanted to hang out. They wanted to talk. They had stuff they wanted to tell us. And we've done multiple episodes on astral projection and lucid dreaming and all of these things and the things that you can do while you're asleep. And just because your body is resting does not mean that your light body, your spiritual body, is also resting. Yeah. So we were also like playing around with astral projection and lucid dreaming, and I was trying to go to my favorite bar in Paris and like blah, blah, blah. And I was too busy. I needed to rest. And so I asked for Archangel Michael.
That's the big I work with,
who is, a very protective angel to basically intercede on our behalf and be like,
to try to basically calm any spiritual activity that's happening around us while we're sleeping, so that we're able to fully rest.
Yeah. And so we also talked about setting an intention.
Yeah. So
setting an intention when you cleanse your space, setting an intention when you go to sleep.
Yeah.
I think we're in this space of trying to be more intentional with all things. We've started setting an intention when we wake up, like setting an intention for the day. So it's not just for like in yoga class. Yeah. You can incorporate that to every aspect of your day.
Yeah.
So really setting an intention before going to bed. And mine is, I'm going the fuck to sleep. Okay. Good night. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is a good point for me to just kind of share a little bit, a little story time. So for me, I think when we first started this kind of spiritual journey that we're on, I had a very profound experience where I was woken up in the middle of the night. And I think I used to describe it as a dream, but I was awake. It was like in that theta waves that I'm talking about, where like I'm encouraging folks when they're woken up to like go into meditation, because that's essentially what happened. I went into a very deep meditation that felt almost like I was sleeping, dreaming, but it was more on the waking side of things, I'd say. And in it, I was shown like a series of things, right? And the couple that kind of stick out to me. One, it was the first time I was shown the Akashic records, and that was years before I started actually doing Akashic records readings for people, which I guess I started this year. So it was like 3 years before I even gave my first Akashic records reading. So that was really cool. But I also saw a vision of you, which was really cool. You had light coming out of your eyes and out of your mouth, which, I mean, I think now that we're 4 years later, I can see what the significance in the symbolism there was about, right? Like, you have this voice and you have this ability to see things that I think are filled with light and are very illuminating. So like that I'm sure that will continue to grow and continue to be prophetic. But yeah, there was just like a lot of experiences. I saw even like a panther sitting in a tree, which I think represented like a connection to my ancestry and to that spirit of the panther. So yeah, when you take that moment, I guess the point I'm trying to say is like when you take that moment to like really lean in and not just get upset that you got woken up and your sleep was interrupted, and like try to really focus in on a meditation, you can really get some powerful messages. I think even now, right, there was a period, I want to say like maybe not that long ago, like maybe a week ago, I was getting woken up like 5-6 days in a row, and then maybe I had to get like 2 nights of sleep, then like another like string of 3-4 days where I was just like waking up and staying up. And I think I'm still trying to piece together what exactly the significance is. I went into the Akashic Records myself. I went in, spoke to an Akashic Records reader that we love, Alicia Rogers, who we mentioned before, and kind of got a second opinion. And I'm still kind of trying to piece through exactly what that was about. But a lot of them were dreams that were kind of traumatic, that kind of woke me up and spiked my cortisol levels. And so I think there's some message there that, again, once I figure it out, maybe I'll share it on a future episode of the show. But yeah, just trying to lean in and meditate through those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually just sent you a TikTok from a sleep doctor. I'm pretty sure he was a sleep doctor, talking about like what to do when you can't go to sleep.
When you're woken up.
Yeah, this will probably be the last little tip. It's a physical tip, but it's kind of like a brain trick. It's basically you tell your brain, I'm going to wake up. And then you fall back asleep.
Yeah, it's like, he says like you tell your brain to stay awake. Like you're like trying to keep yourself awake. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're like, don't fall asleep, don't fall asleep, don't fall asleep. And like what ends up happening is like the reverse happens. Like you end up falling asleep.
I know.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I feel like I would wake up. You tried it.
I did it Sunday night and it worked. I went back to sleep.
And you need your sleep because you don't nap. And so then you're just a mess. There goes the day. Because me, I'm going to get my nap.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah. Hopefully that helps people out as they try to answer that question. Why am I waking up in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
If you can't figure it out and want to book a reading with me or Jen, you can go to shotgunsshotguns.com/readings.
If there's anything, sometimes we drop names of people that we've worked with. If there ever is a name that you hear and you can't find the reference, please send us a DM. Please reach out.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely get you their information.
Yeah. We're at Chakras and Shotguns on Instagram if you're not already following us.
I think I'm going to go take a nap.
That sounds good.
All right. Well, that's the show. Friendly reminder, check out our Patreon. Lots of goodies. And as always, thank you so much for your support. Really, it means a lot. And we love doing the show and we want to keep doing it.
Yeah. Finally, guys, if you're loving the show, please subscribe and give us 5 stars wherever you watch or listen.
Namaste.